People want solutions. People want a plan. People want a vision for the future that is going to actually demonstrate that this government is paying attention to what Canadians' real needs are and is going to respond to them.
And apparently the real needs of Canadians, heroin. How that relates back to Justin Trudeau, well, we'll get to that in a second. But you remember we told you the story a little while ago about Health Canada approving heroin for addicts. That's right, Health Canada bureaucrats approving heroin for addicts. That did not sit well with Health Minister Rona Ambrose.
Our government takes very seriously the harm caused by dangerous and addictive drugs. Recently, though, Health Canada made the decision to approve a physician's application under the Special Access Program to give heroin to heroin addicts. Not to treat an underlying medical condition, but simply to allow them to continue to have access to heroin for their addiction. So today I am announcing that our government has taken action to close this loophole that we found in the Special Access Program.
All right, so here to talk more about this is the reporter that's been following the story, Marissa Semke, in studio with me. And Marissa, the minister not pleased at all that this was going on, correct? So what's she done?
Well, she essentially, on October 3rd, she closed this loophole. It's a special access program, which is a program that allows doctors to have access to drugs that are not available for sale in Canada, but can request access to these drugs in exceptional circumstances, in exceptional cases. So if someone's dying of cancer...
Now, my understanding is that something like this with heroin, which is an illicit drug, not one that's being tested somewhere else, hasn't been approved here, but an actual illicit, illegal drug, that would normally go up to the minister, but in this case it didn't. It
didn't go up to the minister, and she was, which is evidenced by the fact that she came out, she was upset and rebuked this decision moments after it really was released. And she basically said that she was going to go ahead and close the loophole, and in fact she did on October 3rd. And now these addicts that have been prescribed heroin 3 months from now will have to reapply for this heroin and will likely be rejected.
All right, now I understand that you're working on some other elements for this story, including, well, whether the study is solid or whether there are problems with it. We'll get to that on another time. And I also understand that perhaps as many as 5 additional cases were approved. We're working on confirmation for that. But what I want to get to is Justin Trudeau's reaction to this, because the opposition parties are furious that the government is saying no heroin for junkies. You went and spoke to Justin Trudeau about this. What did he say?
Well, he basically said that he believes in science, and he sides with the doctors. So
well, we all believe in science. It exists.
So these are a couple of really extreme radical left doctors that are working on a study in British Columbia to test an alternative for heroin. And what they basically discovered is that these people, these individuals, participants that were in this study, a part of this study, were doing so well on heroin that they needed to find an exit strategy for them. And what was their exit strategy? Well, it was to continue to provide them with heroin. Now, so far what we know is that 21 applicants have been approved, and that was just before Minister Ambrose closed the loophole. These were the 21 applicants that actually came through this study and were now looking for an exit strategy to go forward.
All right, so let's get to what Justin Trudeau said, because you asked him about it yesterday. Let's listen to what his full comments.
I respect science. I respect scientists who've done studies and examined the consequences of different actions and recommendations. And if Health Canada was following its own rules and guidelines, I don't think we should be playing politics with it, and certainly not fundraising off of something that one's own government has done the way the Conservatives have done incredibly hypocritically.
All right, so there you have it from Justin Trudeau. If the bureaucrats say it's okay, he's fine with it. The bureaucrats say give junkies heroin on the taxpayer dime. He's fine with it. This is not, you've been speaking to different doctors, this is not cut and dry, where every single doctor says this is the way, the only way to do it, and this is the only way to help addicts,
You're
right?
absolutely right. There's not one universal view on this. I've spoken to many doctors that actually see this as very problematic. There are inherent problems with heroin alone, just the very fact that at the speed at which it hits your system can result in an accidental overdose. So there are a lot of concerns. Not only that, of course, there are concerns with needles, receiving HIV from dirty needles or hepatitis C.
Okay.
But the real crux of this issue is that there's a concern that this is a slippery slope. And this is really what I want to hit home here, is that what is the incentive for a vulnerable patient who's taking methadone to continue on that program when they can get the real stuff.
And eventually paid for by taxpayers.
Absolutely. And that is the biggest concern here. And I asked that to one of the investigators in this study, and I asked him that very question: what is the incentive for these vulnerable patients to stick with the methadone, to stick with this treatment that will eventually wean them off? And he said, well, basically, this study is not for, or someone receiving prescription heroin would not be allowed to receive prescription heroin if the methadone was working. But if they were also using street heroin, well, then it might be for them.
This is the science Justin Trudeau believes in. Marissa, thanks for coming in. Unreal.